So the first person I'm going to introduce to you tonight is Rob Burns. Rob, on my left at the far end of the table, has been working at Liverpool City Council for a long period of time, the last decade, but has been in the whole business of the built environment for over 30 years. Rob works with Liverpool City Council and is the urban design and heritage manager. And he previously worked as the Historic Areas Inspector for English Heritage in the northwest of England. And Rob has worked on every major event in Liverpool for the past decade. So we're really delighted to have Rob present with us this evening.
Evening. Welcome to one of the largest group of Grade 1 listed buildings in the country. On the top, although there are 63 Grade 1 listed buildings in Birkenhead, so there you go. I'd like to begin with just pointing out the Chairman's everyday discrimination. You know, two women on the panel get confused, but Joe and I just get left off, which is the two bookends. But really, just starting with big picture stuff about heritage. Just looking around the room now, I wasn't expecting this, all these buildings on the wall, Wellington Rooms, Welsh Presbyterian Chapel, India Buildings, Lyceum, Royal School for the Blind, Everton Library, all of these buildings, fantastic heritage buildings, which are, or have been, possibly will be, under some form of risk. But every one of these is forming a project by either the City Council, the Heritage Lottery Fund, or community groups who are interested in restoring these buildings. Heritage is massive in this city, it really is. I've worked in a number of places. I haven't come across a city like Liverpool that shares the same passion for its buildings. I just haven't. So we're in the right location, and it's really good to have these buildings pinned up. It shows you the extent of the issues in some respects. But I just want to talk about heritage and opportunities that heritage presents. Not just for communities, but big picture stuff really, in terms of the economy of this city and what heritage can do for Liverpool. I mean, there's a recent report by the United Nations World Tourism Organization. At any one time at the moment, there are 1 billion international tourist visits. Not to Liverpool all at once, we know that, but generally worldwide. And that figure will double between now and 2020, however many years' time, 6 years' time. It's a massive, massive potential. But the places for tourists to visit won't double. The places will still be there, the places will still be the same places that people want to. And this is a world industry which outstrips oil, car manufacturing and electronics. I don't think we really understand or get to grips with the amount of economic activity that heritage generates in its own right. It's not quantified. We try and do it wherever we can, but it's certainly not quantified internationally. But the tourism industry barely contributes to its core investment, and that core investment is the legacy of the past. There's no global champion for historic sites or cities. UNESCO, we're all friends. UNESCO is really next to useless in terms of a heritage lobby. It concentrates far too much on prevention and not enough on opportunity. It's not proactive, it's reactive. Quite simply, UNESCO doesn't understand the challenges that heritage cities face. You can't rely on UNESCO. Tourism is Britain's second biggest industry. It's got no department, it's got no minister, no parliamentary lobby for tourism, certainly for heritage tourism. It enjoys no tax breaks to equate with those available, say, in farming or even new building schemes or even in filmmaking. Heritage is really the Cinderella of government economic policy. Liverpool is in the top 4 most visited places in the UK, behind London, Edinburgh, bizarrely, Torquay. I don't understand anyone with. If anyone can explain why Torquay beats Liverpool into fourth place, I'd be grateful. Having been there, I can't see it. We're kind of rising to that really as well, certainly since 08, and I think 08 showed what this city was capable of, and it also opened the eyes to a lot of visitors about what this city was about in terms of its qualities. I remember showing a group of German architects around the city shortly after 08, and one of them said to me as I was guiding around the city centre, "Thank you for showing us around. I hadn't realised that Liverpool was such a beautiful place." And her colleague interrupted and said, no, that's not right. Liverpool has some beautiful buildings, but it's much more interesting than that. And I think that's what people come to Liverpool for. That's why we're in the top 5 tourism destinations. Liverpool's an interesting place, really interesting place, for those people that care not just about heritage, but cultural heritage as well. And as a city, we've invested over recent years, certainly, very heavily in tourism infrastructure. We've got new hotels, we've got new tourism infrastructure such as museums and galleries. You know, the oft-quoted, I'm sure it's correct, that Liverpool has more museums and galleries than any other city per capita outside of London. I'm sure that's right. We're also looking at the small stuff as well, so new signage which will help navigate visitors to the World Heritage Site, for example. And we're currently developing new publicity such as brochures, apps for phones and new websites which will go some way to explaining what Liverpool's heritage is all about. And certainly rather technical issues like what are the outstanding universal values of Liverpool's World Heritage Site. What's the role of old buildings within this? Some of which, let's face it, are redundant, are derelict, been out of action for a long time. Well, I think it's twofold really. They help define what this city is, that they're a part of its DNA, and they are evidence of a long and sometimes difficult history that Liverpool has experienced, and that Liverpool is trying to overcome. Think about the key characteristics of Liverpool as a city. Innovation, eclecticism, what I call the Liverpool twist, and I don't mean the dance that Jerry used to do, when I was far too young for that. The Liverpool twist is where this city, historically, has taken a key idea, it's borrowed it from elsewhere, and given it a peculiar Liverpool feel. So think of the Cunard Yanks getting off the boat with embryonic blues and rock and roll music, and that suddenly morphs into Merseywood. Think of the Liver building, you know, the architect of that goes over the States, and suddenly we get this peculiar mid-Atlantic building perched on the UK's Western Shore front there. It's a Liverpool twist. Martin's Bank is another one. India Buildings is another one. It's where you take a basic idea and you adapt it so it fits to its local context. And Liverpool, historically, is really good at that. Really good at that. And that's what makes Liverpool the place it is. We've also got purposefulness. We decide to do something, we do it. So for Three Graces, there was a dock. We fill the dock in, we build on it. Commercialisation, purposefulness. But there's also intangible things like characteristics, things like edginess. Liverpool is sometimes not a comfortable city to be in, sometimes. And I think that's part and parcel of what we are. And these characteristics are in part manifested in the tangible assets we have, our historic building stock. And that's the contribution they make to this city. Think of other characteristics of Liverpool as well. Liverpool is art city, Liverpool is music city, Liverpool is creative city, cultural, intangible heritage. And it's a simple equation. Old and empty buildings, a creative population, tourism. It's there in that simple equation. So heritage, the arts, cultural activities are why people visit this city. It's why people settle in this city. Believe it or not, I'm not from Liverpool, but I've been here 20 years. I have family that's grown up in Liverpool. They're very proud that they're from Liverpool. I thought I'd be here 6 months when I came. That's 20 odd years ago. It's that kind of place. So, I think our historic building stock is potentially a massive asset in allowing this city to create a virtuous circle. Investment in historic building stock creates more investment. And by investment, I don't just mean economic, I mean cultural investment as well. And that's not to say that every building should be retained. It isn't always possible, and anyway, we're not a city that believes in kind of pickling. We're not a city that believes in pickles either, but pickling is not what we're about. And I think the risk of being pedantic, there's a big difference between conservation and preservation. We're not necessarily about preserving things in some kind of aspect, but we are about conserving those important heritage assets. There is a difference. Preservation for me means no change. Conservation means managed, positive change. So the interaction between historic buildings and good quality contemporary buildings, I think, creates more positive tensions and more dynamism. So I think it would be wrong to say we have to keep, every stone is sacred, but we have to keep everything. I think that's the wrong approach, because it doesn't allow for future Liverpool to grow, for this city to evolve as it's always evolved. So what are we doing now? I mean, we're already in the city working hard on our historic buildings. We've reduced our buildings at risk stock from 12% 10 years ago of our total historic building stock to under 4%. That's below national average. We've got something like almost approaching 3,000 listed buildings in this country. We have to keep buildings at risk register. So of that stock, of that nearly 3,000 listed buildings, 4% are at some form of risk, either because they're empty, or because they're in poor condition. That's well below now. So we've gone from being way above the national average for kind of core cities to way below the national average for core cities. It's something we've been working on. There are currently something like 30 major refurbishment schemes in the city at the moment of historic buildings, with a combined cost of about £320 million. This is expensive. But what's interesting is that for every pound of public money spent on these schemes, it generates something between £5 and £8 of private sector investment. So it's not all public money going into these buildings, a lot of it is private money as well. So to me, it makes economic sense to secure our historic buildings, and I think it's one of the more positive and worthwhile aspects of capturing future tourism and cultural activity in this city. I think the discussion is about how much we keep, what we keep, why we keep it, what we do with it. But for now, we're working on conserving as much as we can. It is interesting looking at these schemes around the world, perhaps focus discussions with it. So that's all I have to say really at this stage. Our historic building stock are part and parcel of our DNA, the DNA of the city. They're important assets that we should try and conserve, but I think there has to be a strategic way of looking at it. Not everything is sacred.